Alright, episode 3, Finn. Who is Finn? What is his background? What happened to his family? How is he force sensitive? Yeah. They never answered this. A lot of questions surround the character of Finn that were mainly unanswered. Yeah, agreed. His startup was that he was a stormtrooper that was also in the sanitation department, but there was not enough backstory about his full experience with them either. The guy he knows they are dangerous. To make matters worse, no one mentioned who his family is, nor gave a hint or clue of his last name. The fact that it's unanswered leaves a lot of questions. But of course Disney expected us to know everything. Finally, how in the world is he force sensitive? There has not been any revelation on how what happened, nor how he could connect to the Force. Tune in this video to see my vision of how those questions could be answered. Alright, here we go. Oh, great ad.
Finn is one of those characters that definitely deserves to be a much better character than he is now. I mean, Disney Star Wars made him from being one of the most promising characters to develop to, for some, being one of the most wasted characters. He went from this expected character that went from the First Order to fleeing the First Order to becoming part of the Resistance, but then slowly on from there, he began to be used less later on. It's no surprise that John Boyega wasn't very happy with how his character developed.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Why Disney's gonna Disney Plus him, in his opinion. But if I was writing Disney Star Wars,
I kind of agree
John
with him.
Boyega, I would make your character, a Finn, a lot better. This is a very sad thing, but Finn, like Rey, has not exactly had a good backstory. So let's give him a good backstory that might help him out a little bit, okay?
Of course.
Before that,
Disney won't let him show footage.
Finn would have been a much better character. I mean, a guy that fled the First Order, taken as a child to become part of the First Order, and now later on becoming a hero. But yet, there's a lot in the middle of the development that never really was developed. Basically, more about his past, which was never really developed that much. Let's get to that, though.
Finn's family.
In this case, though, I decided that Finn was born on Cloud City. Sound familiar to you guys? You old school Star Wars fans, or maybe some of you ones that are new Star Wars fans, might be familiar with Lando Calrissian. In this case, Lando will be his father. His mother, I'm going to give her the name Tendra Resonant.
Okay, it's not bad.
That is the name of his wife. You guys remember from the last episode I brought some new legend characters back.
So far a backstory.
I'm not going to just hold back. I'll just focus on Disney canon. However, the story is for Finn, as he said in The Force Awakens, he was taken as a child away from his family. In this case, the First Order attacked Cloud City, and Lando, who's familiar with Cloud City being attacked because when he was younger, when the Empire attacked, he was instantly on the move despite having to make a deal, only they altered the deal. You guys are familiar with Darth Vader doing that to him. In this case, however, there really was no one to double-cross him. They attacked and he immediately went into action to keep his family safe. But sadly, though, he and his wife, while fighting, were not successful in fighting back this time. His wife was shot by the First Order stormtroopers, who actually had a much better aim than the Empire stormtroopers, and she ended up passing away from force. Ever since then, however, Finn was taken to be used as an example of a child that was raised, trained, and developed in the First Order Empire. I'm just going to say that it's just a second version of the Empire for the First Order, but I digress.
Yeah, the First
Sadly,
Order
however,
sucks.
For them,
The Empire's better villains.
They never were successful into training him to be a stormtrooper that would be willing to fight and defend the First Order at all costs, and that's part of the reason he was in the sanitation department, basically in any area that the First Order will go to. Now, a bit of a disclaimer here, there isn't a Starkiller base, and there will not be a Starkiller base. Finn was basically taken to wherever they would go, and I will simply say one of the main places they go is the planet Korriban. That's going to be talked about in our episode on the planet, but let's continue.
Yeah.
However, Finn would later, over time, lose the memory of his family, other than that he knew he was taken from him. Yet, something else went on in his head. Even though his parents were not force sensitive, he was used to feeling things. So, in secret, he would try to meditate because he had been hearing about how people meditate through the Force. Because, obviously, one of the things that Kylo Ren would know is his father, Darth Vader. But Finn never really got that close to Kylo Ren, which is part of the reason why you don't see much of a development between him and Kylo Ren to begin with. And again, in the last episode, Kylo Ren is Jason Solo. So let's continue on from there. Before we continue with the whole force sensitivity part, let's talk about something that was also very bad for him while in training with the First Order. The worst thing that happened to him while he was in training was indeed Captain Phasma. Captain Phasma in this case basically was ruthless. She basically made Finn work very hard and basically scolded him quite a bit.
Even Phasma had
Thus,
potential.
his distaste in the First Order really
But they basically just used her as a stormtrooper punching bag.
Because he just let his mind go and connect with the Force. However, that was not a good thing because the First Order, as much as they would love to see another Force user be part of the Sith ranks, Snoke didn't want him. And he basically tried very hard to discourage him in a way. But Finn was already discouraged enough by the First Order as it is. After he went on Jakku, and he was witnessing the death of one of his troopers because he never saw firsthand a war or any battle, he ended up...
And the conclusion.
So Finn left the First Order because of all that happened. From being a child taken by them to being trained to do things that are against his own morality to later seeing the reality of what happens if people are against him for what is wrong. Despite the training he was also given in the sanitation department in the First Order, he really didn't see the point of using that other than just to remain clean. I mean, that's part of the reason why in the Star Wars universe he was one of the cleaner characters, other than that one time he was in a machine because of his injuries against him in the original. But hey, don't worry, things will change. I promise you guys. Things will change. Basically, though, Finn would not be this character that was wasted. In fact, in my direction, Finn will be probably another developed character with a good enough backstory and reconnect with his father, Lando Calrissian, later on. Anyway, guys, that's it for episode 3. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please give a like and subscribe. And also check out the other 2 episodes in the playlist and also my talk about why I decided to do this. You see, I think it's time we continue this series as not just a development of the characters, but hopefully you guys will see more developed stories, more developed plots, and eventually in the last 3 episodes, how I would direct the actual movies. But that's later on, guys. But don't worry. I will also make sure Legends will be added to some of the areas of Star Wars. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Ajmarkle signing off. God bless. You rock. Don't forget it.
Alright. So anyway, guys, that was me checking out episode 3 of Ajmarkle's If I Directed Disney Star Wars. Now I will stay tuned for what's going to come next in the series, but until then, guys, this was actually a very good video, and it was definitely, his Finn is already a better character than the one we got in the real trilogy, because he was definitely a wasted character, and I can agree with John Boyega that his character was very not well written, and it's exactly why he does not want to return to Star Wars in the future, because of how the bad writing that Disney gave him. Because if you all know the trilogy, all the really only thing he really does is basically knows that he's force sensitive, and often just basically, well, just yells a lot. Like in Rise of Skywalker, where he keeps yelling, right, throughout the whole movie. I could not, especially after he kept doing that in Rise, I really stopped taking him seriously after that. But until then, guys, that'll be it for this video. And if you like this content and want to see more, then don't forget to like and subscribe to Gorilla G Roxon.